After 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery went missing in 2019, questions began to swirl about whether the state failed to act on warning signs that would have kept her safe. Now Harmony is presumed dead, and her father, Adam Montgomery, is charged with her murder. And a new report from the state's Office of the Child Advocate reports that the state is still not adequately protecting children in custody cases here in Massachusetts. In Harmony's case, her father was granted sole custody despite a history of violence and abuse, and she remained in his care even after the Department of Children and Families were told she was hit by her father and later saw signs of a fading bruise on her face. In the months after her disappearance, the Child Advocate reviewed her case and made several recommendations on how the state should handle future cases. And in its latest report, the Office of the Child Advocate says it continues to be concerned that the welfare and best interests of the child is not adequately presented in care and protection cases, putting some children in unsafe situations. I'm joined now by the retired justice on the Worcester Juvenile Court, Carol Erskine, who's writing a book on this case and oversaw the adoption of Harmony's half-brother Jameson just weeks before the authorities believe Harmony was killed, plus Jonathan and Blair Miller, the couple who adopted Jameson and have since been fighting to prevent what happened to Harmony from happening to anyone else. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. Jonathan and Blair, I want to start with you and just ask if you can share with us any memories that your son has about his sister.
He does. He definitely has memories about her. He will ask about her often. He remembers what her favorite colors were, purple and pink. He knew that she loved Minnie Mouse. Matter of fact, Blair's mom, who our boys know as Nana, made pillows, and she made one as Mickey Mouse and then one for Minnie Mouse. And he said, I'm going to keep that for my sister Harmony. It's a really hard thing to share with him, that that's not a reality, that he's never going to be able to give that to her. He remembers that when they were in foster care, she had a Tickle Me Elmo that he really wanted, and she gave that to him as a gift because he didn't have any toys at one of the foster homes they were at.
Carol, what an extreme example here of the way that two children's lives could possibly go. One ending up in a loving household with the care of parents who are putting his best interests forward, and obviously the government's role in helping that to happen, and then the other child murdered. Is this how it always has been, and is this always how it has to be?
Well, I think the child legal advocacy system has been defective for a very long time. And that's why the Office of the Child Advocate made the determination that the Committee for Public Counsel Services, which has the unit that represents children and parents, is a defective system. And that basically what I write about in the book is that you had 3 attorneys on that case, as the governor said, and not one of them had Harmony's best interest as a priority. But the system is really a damaged system in Massachusetts when you have the lawyer for the mother, the lawyer for the father, and the lawyer for the child all in the same courtroom. They're all hired by the same people. They're all paid by the same people. And so the point I make in one aspect of the book is that it's a parent-focused agency to the exclusion of a child's best interest. And so my prediction is that there will be more child fatalities because the Committee for Public Counsel Services says that it doesn't have to change its particular way of representing children, meaning that they allowed Harmony at age 4 to decide what her future would be.
Carol, I've had conversations with people who work, both law enforcement and people who work for social agencies dealing with families in distress. And they have often shared with me how, as much as they want to protect the children, they often feel that when it taking a child away from a parent, removing a child from a home, to them is a line crossing that they feel sometimes the government has to be absolutely sure that they're moving forward with the right information, and sometimes they don't feel that they have that. Is this failure through the entire system? I mean, is it both the social workers on the ground, and not as individuals, but as a system? Are we just totally over the line here?
Yes, it's a systemic issue throughout Massachusetts. I mean, the department's underfunded. Social workers literally put their lives on the line. I mean, the line social workers are amazing. They walk into some of the most dangerous situations. And, you have a group of people who say, foster care is not always needed and the department acts too quickly. And sometimes that's true. But that's for a judge to decide at the initial temporary hearing. And there are many times where I would say, I don't think we need to remove this child. Let's get some services in, let's have a safety plan, and let's return the child. But there are other cases where, the evidence is overwhelming that the child is at risk and needs to be in a safe place, despite the fact that, as we know, foster care can be really traumatic for children.
Jonathan and Blair, I'll let you choose which one should answer. But what is motivating you here? What do you see that you can impact in a positive way to make change to protect children?
Well, I think that, we sit here a year and a half nearly since we found out that Harmony was missing. And while there's been plenty of outrage and concern, and the community has played a vital role in all of this and support and in the search, but here we are. And I would ask how much has changed since then. If there was another Harmony Montgomery case that happened today that went through the courts, what would happen? And why hasn't enough changed to make sure this doesn't happen again? And those are some of our biggest questions, and that's our motivation now. Sure, we're very concerned about, Jameson and how he grows up thinking about this, but everything we're doing is in Jameson's name and Harmony's honor.
So, Carol, I imagine in your book you're outlining this for us. But as I was preparing for this segment, we're talking. People get confused about which child in danger, which child who was murdered we're talking about, which speaks volumes as to how horrendous this problem is for the state to have, especially a state like Massachusetts, which prides itself in being good at many things. What steps does the state immediately have to take? And I know that it's in the report, but what would you urge lawmakers and people to do to take immediate steps to keep children safe?
Yes, it's a great question. One of the things I write about is the efforts that we made with Senator Moore to put a working commission together to take a look at the antiquated law and legal advocacy system in Massachusetts. And it was voted on unanimously and then went to the conference committee, and it was just crushed there. And so I write about the fact that, you have the judiciary, you have the executive branch, and you have the legislative branch, all of them not doing enough to make the changes. And one of the immediate changes, in my view, and this is in the OCA report, but I explain it, to a much greater degree, is you cannot have 4-year-old children deciding their future. It's dangerous. It's not done like that in most other states, which have a best interest model along with express preference. But the Committee for Public Counsel Services is fighting that all the way in Massachusetts. And I spend a lot of time, talking about how it's such an indignity to Harmony for people to ignore this really defective system that's in place.
Jonathan, I imagine the grief that your household feels over Harmony's murder, both in opportunities missed and also just the family care and just as human beings. How do you as a family deal with processing this grief and trying to turn it into action?
Well, I think, number one, we can't change what's happening to Harmony. If we could go back, we would do anything to make that happen. We're not able to change that, sadly. But we can tell Jameson that he's loved. It is very difficult to answer his questions. He looks at us and says, "Why did my sister have to die? Why did someone have to hurt my sister?" He doesn't realize that her own father hurt her. That's just too hard for a 6-year-old to even comprehend or understand. Is what we can do is love him unconditionally, get him the services that he needs, and we can fight to make sure this never happens again to another child. But it is, and it could happen again. You know, like right today. For instance, a few months ago, our doorbell rung, and even after Jameson knew the tragic ending to Harmony, he said, "I hope that's my sister at the door." You know, that was his only stable person in his life until he was adopted.
It's heartbreaking, and it's unnecessary. Blair, folks, I get frustrated in this business covering terrible stories like this where there's an enormous reaction of love and concern and heartbreak, and then we just kind of move on, right? And then the next time it happens with the same circumstances, we're all shocked it happened again. What would you say to folks watching at home, a step that they can take this week to try and stop this from happening again?
You know, I say the same thing. You know, look, I get it. There's a lot going on in this world. Everyone's very busy and everyone's trying to sort out life for themselves. And when things like this, yes, there's a lot of outrage. I think some of the same questions we're asking to our lawmakers is, what are you doing about this? And why hasn't this changed? What is your role in making sure that we're keeping all of our kids safe?
Carol, is there a state that's doing it right? Is there somebody who would be a model for us, or at least moving in the right direction, doing it at least trying to do it the right way?
Yeah, there are a number of states, in my view, that do it right. Actually, Massachusetts is only one of 8 states that allows a singular express preference model, allowing children to make decisions that could put them at extreme risk. But there are 32 states in the United States that have, even if they have an express preference model, that there's a guardian ad litem or an independent voice to speak for those children, so that you're not just getting one story. In Harmony's case, the lawyers all agreed that they weren't going to they didn't present any evidence to the judge about his criminal record, about the fact that he didn't do any services 6 months before the custody order went in. And so it's a difficult situation, you know, when you're a judge and you're relying on evidence and the evidence isn't coming in. So I think, you know, that Massachusetts should move to a similar model that is in the majority of states, where a child's voice gets to be heard separate from the lawyer.
Well, I appreciate the three of you taking time to share this concern and call to action with us. Carol Erskine, Jonathan and Blair Miller, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.